This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on SCO Summit, highlights and its significance. The participants are Skand Ranjan Tayal, former diplomat, and KV Prasad, journalist.
India today hosted the 23rd Summit of the SCO Council of Heads of State. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, of which India became a part in 2017, is a forum which allows Central Asian countries to come together and take forward the agenda. To understand more about it, we have Mr. Skand Ranjan Tayal to tell us about the conceptualization of SCO and its contextual relevance.
Shanghai Cooperation Organization was established in around year 2000, and initially the four Central Asian republics, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and China and Russia were members. But since about 2006, India started participating in its activities as an observer, and so it's about 6 years we are now a full member. And the entire effort is that Central Asian region, which is linked to South Asia, to India, and as Prime Minister said today, it is not extended neighborhood, it is our extended family, that we work together for peace and progress of Central Asia. That is the overriding objective of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and India has been very strongly and very enthusiastically participating in its activities. And as chairman, last year itself, Prime Minister had given the direction that the focus should be how to make the entire region, all the members, secure. And secure means S is for security, E for economic growth, C for connectivity, U for unity, R for respect for sovereignty and integrity, and E for environmental preservation. And India, in its chairmanship, has worked hard to promote these objectives.
And that's the time when we talk of respect for sovereignty and integrity. It's very obvious that some of the indications around point fingers towards China for its expansionist habits as the world is concerned about it. And also the fact that we have an issue happening around. So how do you see that in the larger context of what has been said in SCO?
One, in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization format, no bilateral issues are discussed, but certainly some principles can be reiterated and spoken about. Now, our sovereignty and territorial integrity is being violated by China's Belt and Road Initiative, which passes through Pakistan illegally occupied parts of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. And repeatedly we have pointed this out to all our friendly countries. But the fact is that all the other members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization are participants in the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. And in the concerned paragraph in the declaration, India's name is not mentioned and other countries' names are mentioned. So yes, this is an objective and we will keep on talking about it and impressing it, pressing upon it. But realistically, we may not expect any clear support or response from other members of SCO.
Before we shift to the larger contribution of India during its presidency, another issue that always comes on top of the mind is terrorism. And today the Prime Minister made it very clear when he spoke of the subject and as to how everybody should be together in fighting this menace. But the fact is, what remained unsaid was the attitude of Pakistan and also the attitude of China. So once again, this seems to be some kind of an anachronistic issues within the Council and the SCO membership.
Very much so. In fact, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Charter in Article 1 mentions that the organization will fight against terrorism and deal with terrorism. And Prime Minister very clearly in his welcome address today mentioned terrorism, particularly cross-border terrorism. He also, that was a pointer towards Pakistan, and he also mentioned double standards, that no country should adopt double standards. That was a clear pointer towards China, which has been protecting known Pakistani terrorists in the Security Council committee, and in spite of very clear evidence, hard evidence, even phone records being presented to the committee, China puts a hold on so many terrorists. And also Prime Minister mentioned about terror financing, because much of the financing is coming from international sources through Pakistan.
Ambassador Sahil, you mentioned of Article 1 of the Charter, under which they have the RATS mechanism with Tashkent as its headquarters. How has it been contributing to this whole fight against terrorism, or is it more of an organization which is yet to get its act together?
RATS in Tashkent is now functioning for almost 15 years or more, and it is acting as a clearinghouse of information. All the member countries are supposed to give the information, whatever they have about terrorists, terrorist groups, terrorist financing, movement of terrorists. But in my experience, I have seen that perhaps the outcome of the RATS has not been very effective, and its achievements are perhaps not very effective. But another direction in which RATS may work is to act against radicalization. And that is a worry for the Central Asian republics, they are all Muslim majority countries, all 5 of them, but they are very strongly secular, and very strongly they protect all the religious rights of all religions, and the danger of radicalization is being faced by them, and they are dealing with it very strongly. But it is very good that today new declaration was also passed against radicalization, because in addition to the New Delhi Declaration, there were 2 other documents, and one was on radicalization, which is the cooperation in countering radicalization.
Ambassador Sahil, if we look at India's signature on its leadership of SCO, there were 5 initiatives. Of course, one was to promote digital public infrastructure, how to face the challenge of climate change, environment protection, which you also talked about, the environmental protection and promotion. The fact that we're talking of promotion of innovative technology, the digital financial inclusion policies, and of course, the fact that India has worked 2 special working groups, one on startups and innovation, and the second on traditional medicines. So I think India wanted to leave a distinct signature on its leadership of SCO. Is that a correct assessment?
Very much so, because India's focus is on future, how to secure a good, productive, stable future, and particularly for our youth, the youth of South Asia and Central Asia. And in that, the 2 new mechanisms, special working group on startups has been made. 2 meetings have already been held at a very big scale. And also, India has a lot to share on digital transformation, because India has notable achievements in digital public infrastructure, all our Aadhaar card and COVID related IT, etc., and rupee payments, direct payment to beneficiaries and all that. This is a huge experience which India is willing to share with our friends. And for that also there is a document which has been adopted for cooperation in digital transformation. And the other thing, an expert level working group on traditional medicines, because all the countries in this region, South Asia, Central Asia, China, we are very old civilizations and have our own very successful traditional medicinal systems which need to be understood, which need to be researched, and which need to be practiced and propagated. And there also, an expert level working group on traditional medicines has been established.
And that's then, as you mentioned, the whole idea was to look forward and bring about a change for the people and the younger generation. I think in that context, if you look at, there were separate programs for the youth, the young scientists, the young authors, the young resident scholars, the youth technical conventions, and the community development programs. This was, of course, the focus that India gave and a definite connect with people of the region. In addition, of course, the socio-cultural aspects of promoting millets, films, culture, tourism, and I think the biggest is the Buddhist heritage. Would you be able to share something on that?
As Foreign Secretary Vinay Kwatra said in his briefing, the effort on India's part has been that the implementation of the various decisions should not be limited only to the governments of the member countries, but the effort should be to involve the people, involve the masses, and also through them achieve the objectives and goals of SCO. So in that direction, meetings were held to promote tourism. Meetings were held for creative writing, and also a very important meeting was held on shared Buddhist heritage. Because before the advent of Islam in 9th, 10th century in Central Asia, they were Buddhist. Afghanistan was also Buddhist. Parts of Pakistan were Buddhist. China was, of course, Buddhist. Parts of India were Buddhist. So this is a shared heritage. And on that also, a chair has been created in the Nalanda University. And as Prime Minister said in his opening inaugural address, that for India, Central Asia is not our extended neighborhood, but it is our extended family. We have civilizational links, we have historical links, we have cultural links, and we have now modern links also because of the popularity of Indian films and Indian food and yoga and Indian culture. So there is a lot in which India can share with the people of the member countries.
Ambassador, everybody's concern was the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine and its impact on the world in the form of food, fuel, and fertilizers. So here were an important member of SCO, President Putin, hearing the views. So how do you see will that have an impact?
Issues like Ukraine, of course, would not be discussed in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the bilateral issues are also not discussed. But there is this underlying apprehension among all the member countries that the Ukraine-Russia conflict should end early, because it will have a huge impact on the supply of food and fuel and fertilizer globally, as the Prime Minister clearly mentioned in his welcome remarks. And also, I must say that all the Central Asian republics are very unhappy with the Russian violation of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, because these countries also came out of Soviet Union. Before 90, they were not independent. So in their heart of their hearts, they are a little apprehensive, and they want to very much ensure that territorial integrity and sovereignty of all the countries must be respected and preserved.
Ambassador, finally, how do you see the admission of Iran as a 9th member of SCO? And from now on, Kazakhstan will take over the presidency.
Iran has been historically, civilizationally, culturally very much a part of Central Asia. And in the days of the earlier centuries, much of the work in the Central Asian Khanates was done in Persian, not in their own language, because they did not have a written script. And for connectivity of Central Asia to India, as well as towards Indian Ocean, Iran has a very important place. Port India has been promoting, and India has a joint venture there. India has invested there, and international north-south transport corridor, which will take cargo from Indian ports to Chabahar and then further in Iran towards Afghanistan or towards Turkmenistan, and from Turkmenistan to Central Asia, and in the north towards Russia. This will become more feasible with Iran's entry as a full member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Kazakhstan is the next chairman, incoming chairman. It's an energy-rich country, and for the energy security of the world, Kazakhstan has a very important role to play, and India has very friendly relations with Kazakhstan for decades, and Prime Minister has a personal very good friendship with President Tokayev of Kazakhstan. So we look forward for very positive outcomes of Shanghai Cooperation Organization under the presidency of Kazakhstan.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us, Ambassador Tayal.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on SCO Summit highlights and its significance. The participants were Skandaranjan Tayal, former diplomat, and KV Prasad, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. The program is available on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official.